So Colton, I went to the Cliffs of Dover this week, and was really trying to think of some good Cliffs of Insanity jokes when I then went to check the news. Which is a bad thing to do, if you prefer to just not be sad. It turns out that while I was busy traveling around the southeastern part of England, there was yet another school shooting in the United States. This time at a community college in Oregon. So now I just kind of feel like talking about my trip would be a little bit frivolous, And the more I learn about this shooting, the more I realize that this situation is absolutely insane. 13 people were killed and 20 people were injured by an absolutely deranged man who was discharged from the United States military after only 1 month of service for failing to meet certain standards, who was rejected from a law enforcement and self-defense academy because there were fears that he would misuse his firearm knowledge, and was still legally able to acquire 14 guns. 14! No. That just seems like a bit much. And of course, there will be outrage. There will be prayers. There will be rhetoric. Liberals will bring up gun control and say we need to fix this problem. Conservatives will attack liberals for politicizing a tragedy. And if it's anything like what happened in the past, nothing will change. Colton, I heard about this tragedy from a British newspaper. In the United States, there are 88 guns to every 100 people. Here in the United Kingdom, there are only 6 guns for every 100 people. But of course, it's because guns are part of the American identity. From the Patriots of Lexington and Concord to the Cowboys of the Wild West, America has been shaped by guns and by who is allowed to have them. Early Americans realized how important these guns were when their militias were able to fight off the British, because they had access to guns. Which is of course why they created the Second Amendment, a part of the Bill of Rights that ensures Americans the rights to maintain a militia and bear arms to protect themselves and their communities. One side of this debate follows the logic that by reducing the amount of guns, we would also reduce the amount of gun-related violence. Because after all, you need a gun to do something violent with it. The other side believes that by removing guns from citizens, you would actually create more problems. Because criminals will still get their guns illegally, and now the law-abiding citizens won't be able to defend themselves. But for some reason, that puts gun laws in this untouchable bubble, making it impossible to even discuss the subject. And Colton, for that reason, I'm really hesitant to even talk about this subject. But maybe that's why we need to talk about it. And here are a few things I think that we as a society need to be talking about. Because the more I research this, the more and more insane it gets. The American gun debate forms this metaphorically monstrous cliff that I'm sure even Andre the Giant wouldn't be able to scale. Colton, this is a graph showing the amount of deaths as a result of gun violence in the United States, compared to the amount of deaths as a result of terrorism. The US spends over $16 billion annually on counterterrorism, but we seem to lack similar resources to deal with problems that are affecting us at home so much more dramatically. I mean, some guy tries to put a bomb in his shoe and now I have to take my shoes off at airports. But for literally my entire life, there have been tragedies like this every single year. And we don't even seem to have the discussion about what we could potentially be doing differently. Do you see the cliffs of insanity that I'm talking about? To me, it seems like we really have 3 options. The first is that we can just do nothing and hope that things get better or simply don't get worse. We could outlaw terrible people. Granted, this would probably help a lot of areas of society, but I imagine the logistics would be really difficult. Or we can start to have a serious discussion about how and what we need to change. I'm not trying to say that guns are evil. I'm not trying to say that we should get rid of all the guns. And I'm definitely not saying that I have an answer to this problem. But recent studies show that 89% of the population is in favor of implementing higher standards on how guns are purchased. And even 75% of those who belong to the National Rifle Association agree that we need to have higher standards. And regardless of what side of this issue you fall on, I hope that we can agree on a few things. Violence is bad. Innocent people being killed and injured is also bad. We would prefer to live in a place where tragedies like this don't happen. I mean, I guess you can disagree with me on those 3 statements. And if you do, please kindly never watch any of my videos ever again. Ever. I'm sure that most gun owners are great people who use their guns as tools for positive purposes. But something needs to change so that crazy people stop ending up with their own personal arsenals. Society will never become 100% safe, but problems can be changed, policies can be adapted, and culture can evolve. But it won't until we decide that we want it to. So what do you think? What should we do? But I actually mean that, non-rhetorically. So in the comments, what do you think that we should do?